Hi, I'm Andrew Dees. I'm the offensive line coach here at Temple University. These drills we put together for you are the same drills we use every day to make our linemen the best in the MAC.
The first thing that I start with is a good stance. I believe this is the foundation to be a good offensive lineman. As you can tell in this picture right here, they all look very similar. Their outside hand's down. That outside hand is slightly inside their outside foot, and their off arm is chambered in a position where they can bring it and punch and run. This is how we get to that. We have a drill that we use at the beginning of camp, so this way we all look similar. This is how I get it done. First thing I do is I take them back a yard from a line. Okay, now the nice thing about this is you can have as many lines as you need. You know, if you have 20 guys, 30 guys, it's not an issue. Okay, you just get them in a spot where they can get in kind of a grid, 5 yards apart, because you can do everything from this grid. First thing we talk about is step up. You can tell they step up to the line. Here's a good look from the side. Next thing I say to them is set their feet. Now when we set our feet, we talk about getting a slight stagger. As you can see right here, outside foot is going to be to the heel of your inside foot. It's got to be a position where you can keep all your cleats in the ground. I don't want to see that back foot. I don't want to see the cleats back there. Okay, so I want to make sure they do a good job of keeping that heel on the ground. Next thing they do is down. They get to this position right here. As you can tell, still I want their head up, good proud chest, elbows on the knees. Next thing we talk about is stretch. Now as you see the stretch right here, they're supposed, as soon as they stretch, they want to chamber that off arm. We talk about stapling your wrist to your knee. Okay, 50 does not do it right here. He's still got his elbow on his knee. That's a problem that you're gonna have to overcome, and one don't treat lightly, because later on they get a little lazy with it and they don't get a good punch. Okay, but we want to tell them to staple that wrist to the knee. Next thing you're gonna do is stretch. When you stretch, as you can tell right there, let me rewind this real quick. You tell right there, 79 is kind of plopping it down, where 59 is stretching, getting it down to the ground. Okay, and the third part of this is, as you can tell by the side right here, is once he gets his hand down, you want to make sure that all 5 fingers are in the ground. Okay, as you can tell, the young man closest to you in the video, his thumb is not in the ground, or his pinky finger. Okay, so that's telling me that he's got too much weight back in his stance, and this is a bad stance. So this is something that we would correct and make sure it looks like the third young man and the one who's slightly unshaved. You can tell all 5 fingers are in the ground, head up, good flat back, all his cleats are in the ground. This is what I consider a good stance, and this is the base for everything we do to be an offensive lineman at Temple.
Day drills. Demeanor walk. Objective: to develop an offensive lineman's ability to master the first 3 steps of the various run blocks we employ.
Okay, these next drills that we do are called our EDDs. They're everyday drills we utilize in the run game and the pass game. And what we've done to be more efficient in our practice is we've set up a grid so that we can utilize every offensive lineman at the same time. As you can see here, we've set up poly dots in a 4x4 area. It's 4 yards. They're 4 yards apart in each direction. And you can either put out the poly dots, which we do here in the indoor. You could spray paint white dots on a practice area on your practice field, or you could paint lines and make a grid, and where the lines cross, that would be the junction area of the grid where your offensive linemen are going to line up. So when we do these drills, we'll put an offensive lineman, I'll just tell them to get on their dots every day. Each lineman will grab a spot to practice on a dot. We can work through some of the footwork on these drills, and they end up on another dot. It separates them all so they have space to work and operate, but it also it makes us very efficient in our practice time. Instead of going 5 lines and having them work, we just line them up on the dots, and we can utilize the entire offensive line at one time. The first thing we're going to do, if I get my players out here, is this first drill is called the demeanor walk. And we'll start with you guys on the back there. If you grab your dots, and again, we would utilize every offensive lineman that we have. We would, if you have 20 linemen, we'd put 20 on there. This grid you can make as big as you want. You want to have at least an extra dot on both ends to utilize, so you're not going off the grid. So the first thing that we're going to do is the demeanor walk. So they're going to start in a run block demeanor, and they're going to duck walk for 5 yards. Set, go. And again, they're just working on hip flexibility, warming up, getting loose. You might take them for 10 yards. Let's go one more time. Demeanor walk, sit, go. And again, they're just working on their run block demeanor. Thank you. What they want to do here is they want to stay low, get in a good demeanor in the position in which they would engage a defensive lineman. Again, warming up their hips, their ankles, and their knees, working in a position to make them more flexible and more explosive down in that run demeanor position. That's the demeanor walk.
All right, fellas, we're going to talk about offensive linemen blocking on the angle. And the point I'm making here is we're not necessarily talking about any particular play, but let's just talk about a one-on-one block. And for example, I'll pick the right offensive guard right here. Let's shade this right offensive guard, and let's put a defensive tackle right there, okay? And let's say the ball is going to go right over the outside leg of the guard. It could be right at the butt of the guard, but the ball is going to go somewhere in this area right here, okay? That what we like to do is when this right guard puts a one-on-one block on this defender, the center may be coming with him, we want to block him on the angle he's on. And what that means is that defender is on that angle. Okay, so we want the blocker to block them on that angle. It's kind of common sense. The point I'm making is we don't try to take the blocker and step him over and square on the guy. We would like to move him that way because that's how he appears to be lined up on us. And when we're blocking the defender and he's on the angle, okay, he's on this angle, as we block him, all right, we're not necessarily, we'd like to blow him off the ball and knock him back, but if we can, if when we go like this, that he goes like that, and we can make him move, then the running back comes here and he can cut off the block. So when you block on the angle, you're trying to displace the guy off the ball or horizontally, you want to make him move. You're still trying to block him hard and make him move. But again, that's what blocking on the angle means. Okay, now, the bottom line is, obviously, what we have to teach the player is, if there's a guy here that he has to block, and the ball's going way over here, then we might have to take a little bit different footwork and put our head a little bit wider. So when we take our footwork, depending on where the ball's going, we might have to block on that angle, we might have to block on that angle, we might have to block on that angle, but you'll note, we're not trying to get the offensive blocker over and square to the line of scrimmage. We're trying to block him on the angle that he's on. Now, when we coach blocking on the angle, and let's assume, again, the theory that the ball carrier, he's back here anywhere from 6 to 7 yards deep. We may be running right at the outside leg of the guard or the butt of the guard or somewhere up over the guard, and here's a defensive tackle that he's blocking, all right? First of all, when we block the man on the angle, okay, with our footwork, the theory is how fast we can get our second step on the ground. So if this is our right foot and this is our left foot, we want to see how fast we can pick that foot up and put it down, and as fast as we can with balance, and then we bring our second step. And as you'll notice in this diagram here, I've got my outside foot out of the way, okay, so my second step can get on the ground, and then on my third step explode through the block. So the bottom line is that if I'm the right guard here and I'm in a little bit of a right-handed stance, and here's the defensive tackle that I'm blocking, is we want to do something with this foot to pick it up and put it down as fast as we can, all right? So we can open our hips a little bit and then get our second step on the ground as fast as we can, so then we can explode. All right, so the bottom line is we never want to be on a tightrope. So if you look at my feet, if I'm working to my right, all right, and I'm going to block this 3 technique, okay, on an inside type of a zone play or an inside type of a man-for-man play, remember what we said a little bit earlier, we would drive the off knee down and push this knee down to pivot off this knee so I've got more weight here. But notice my first step with my right foot. See what I've done? I've picked that foot and picked it up and put it down, but I'm going to have my weight going forward. I'm not going to drop back. What I'm trying to do is get this foot, this knee, and this hip out of the way so I can get my second step on the ground. So I'm going to block this guy on the angle. He's going to be over here on me, but you'll notice, see that first step? It's not underneath me, okay? It's not wide. There's a happy medium. Boom, all right? So, and I'm going to go forward because we don't want people to think you're dropping back. So again, if you look at my feet, when I'm going to the right, watch this right foot. I'll just get it out of the way. How fast can I pick it up, put it down, put the whole foot on the ground? We like to say put the whole foot on the ground so you're not over your center of gravity. So as I put the whole foot on the ground, my next step can come, my third step, etc. If we want to block a little wider, okay, let's say this right guard's got this 3 technique, but the ball's going a little wider. We may have to take a little bit deeper and wider first step to get our head position a little bit further. So if, again, I'm up here and I'm the right guard and the guy's a little bit wider on me, or, excuse me, the ball's going a little wider, watch my first step, boom. All right, I take a little deeper and wider step that goes back, it goes back, but then I get my second step on the ground. The whole premise is, it's how fast I can get my second step going, but I do not want to be on a tightrope. For example, if I were going to step forward when I take my second step, my feet would be on a tightrope. But when I get my front foot out of the way, I can get my second step down and block on the angle. If I was going to go to my inside, be the same theory. Let's say this right guard, okay, we're running a zone play over here. This center and guard are working for a backside nose and a linebacker, that this guard, to get that nose guard, he has to lose a little ground to get over here to block the guy. So if that right guard had to get that nose guard, and I'm on the right guard and I'm the backside guard, remember I said we might balance up our stance? I'd have to take that footwork to get in here and get that nose guard. But you'll notice with the footwork, if you zero in on the feet, if I'm going to my outside, I'm going to my right, watch this knee pivot and watch this foot. Okay, you see how I'm balanced? All right, it's not stepping underneath myself. It's not stepping too wide. It's kind of a natural pivoting effect. So I want to block on that angle. So I want to end up with my feet going that direction, okay? So bottom line is I want to get my front foot out of the way, but I want to have balance. Then I want to get my second step on the ground. More your footwork on the running plays, just on the basic blocking on the angle. The critical point is how fast you can get your second step on the ground. So again, and I keep demonstrating with a right guard on a 3 technique, so, you know, we can all kind of just visualize that, all right? The whole key is I need to get this right foot out of the way, okay, in a natural position. I don't want to step underneath myself. I don't want to step too lateral. It's kind of over and back, but my upper body's always going forward, okay? So as I take that footwork, how fast can I get that second step on the ground? The second step may only go this far. This would be my first step, and it may only go boom, boom, okay? because you don't want to take a big crossover step. So even though we might take a little deeper first step to get wider, my second step would look like this. Watch how fast I get it down. Boom, boom. Because what I don't want to do is take a big crossover step. I always have to have my feet on the ground when I'm blocking.
Today at Wheaton North High School, we're going to be talking about the fundamentals of the shoulder block system as it relates to the wing T offense. You know, the wing T is a system where everything fits together. We have a reason for everything we do, and there's a reason why we use the shoulder block. I'd like to demonstrate what our surface looks like, how we arrive at that surface, and then to conclude, we'll demonstrate the breakdown drills that we teach our kids here at Wheaton to help them arrive at a good aggressive shoulder surface. When we talk about a shoulder, what we talk about is a surface where we make a fist with the appropriate shoulder at the time. We put that on the corresponding pec, and we get a nice flat arm. Our arm is parallel to the ground. So that fist goes to the pec, the arm is up, the elbow is extended, and the blocking surface we use with the shoulder block extends from the ear hole out to the elbow. So my blocking surface is ear hole to elbow. As you can see, that's a pretty darn big surface there. I'm not blocking with my elbow down and just using the shoulder pad. I'm extending, and it gives me a really the largest surface I can get in football as a blocking type implement. As we arrive at that surface, we certainly teach our kids to aggressively apply that surface. So we don't go in and line up with our fist at our pec. We wind up and we apply an aggressive surface. So here's the way we teach it. We make a fist, we wind up, and we strike a surface. We talk about aggressively striking a blow. And quite frankly, if we are hitting with good football position, we're not really hitting with the shoulder, we're hitting with the upper chest. So we're hitting with the upper breast or upper chest because we're going to be pad on the defender, and we're going to be in a position that we urge our kids to achieve this position called face up. We don't talk about bullying the neck, we talk about being face up. So once again, I wind up with a fist. I wind up, I strike a surface with my fist in the pec, and I always strive to be face up. I wind up, I strike a surface, face up. Face up is very important rather than bull the neck, because what I'm striving to do is maintain a surface on a defender and block him and stay on my feet as long as I can to the official's whistle. And if you would note with my hips that if I achieve a face up position, my hips come underneath my shoulders. And if I will be face up, those hips will maintain a position between my shoulders and my legs. And therefore, I don't have to fight the problem of nose diving. If I'm face down, I'm going down. If I'm face up, my hips will come underneath my shoulders. They will achieve a position between my legs and shoulders. And now I get a chance to maintain a nice base and block that guy all the way to the whistle. And that's what
This drill right here is our bucket drill. We're going to take the same premise as we did for the drive and the tee-board. First thing I'm going to have them do is step over the white line. As you can tell, they're facing towards the sideline. We use the line on the field, so this way it gives them a reference point. And I want that toe facing at 45 degrees after they take that first step. Let's take a look at it. Right there, chest on the knee, make sure they step over the line. Same thing, I'm going to give them 2 goes. First go, I'm going to stop them right there. And on the second go, they're just going to run through on an angle of 45 degrees. Let's take a look at that. Tell we will do this right and left. Same thing. He's going to step over the line on the first go. And the second go, they're going to go. On this one, it's just one go because it's later in camp, and this by now they know the drill. So they know what I'm looking for, and they've been coached up. Here's another look at it going to the left. You can see right here, I want to put this one on because you see the second guy from the right. You see how he's stepping on his toe? We don't want to step on his toe. If you look at the center right here, see how he's got his whole foot on the ground? Only thing I don't like there is he's crossing over. Those are some common problems you'll see.
Okay, the drill we're looking at here is a T-board drill in the chute. The purpose of the chute is to keep the bend in your ankles. Now you see some of us here are bending at the waist. We're trying to keep the bend in the ankles. We're trying to stay on the zone angle. And notice the way the driving of the elbow. Drive the elbow as though you're running. Maintain a base, keep the weight on the inside balls of the feet. Now we'll turn the board left, and we'll take a T-board left angle. Again, make sure you're driving the elbow as you come through. Bending at the ankles, not so much at the waist. This is a drill that's done every day. This is what I call a must drill. There are certain drills in your system that you have to do every single day. If you're a zone team, this is one of them. Explosion drill. We love the word explosion. We love the roll of hips. Tight hands on the bag. Keep the hands very tight. Get your feet in the ground and roll the hips. Explode at the hip.
The drill that we use to help our offensive linemen block the linebackers is, simply enough, we call it block linebacker drill. Here we're looking for a good T-board step, and you can tell they all have good bases as they run toward the linebackers. Here, especially a lot of young players, they want to lunge at the linebacker. You don't want to lunge at them because linebackers are better athletes usually than offensive linemen, and they'll make you miss. So they're, as you can tell right here, they're running to the bag. Good tight elbows, striking up and widening and quickening their feet. Okay, one more time. I'll let it go full go. Good job right there. Whistle. Another way to teach this drill, we go one at a time, right down the line. Same principles, same coaching points. Okay. Here you can tell his feet are a little bit tighter. Okay. Get the bag to move a little bit. Good tight elbows, and once he makes contact, he's widening and quickening his feet. Okay. This is a great drill to use in the chutes because it helps with their pad level and gets them to run off the ball. Still, same principles. You want to take a T-board step. Punch the bag, widen and quicken. Same thing here, second group. They're T-boarding, widen and quicken. Once they make contact, tight elbows. Okay, we go right, then left. Okay, same thing. Work on your pad level coming out of the chutes, widen and quicken. Same thing. Pad level coming out of the chutes, widen and quicken. Contact on the back. Okay, this is what we call our block the linebacker drill.
Fit and finish. This is a great drill. It's basically breaking down the block. So for instance, how many guys have trouble blocking the second level as a linebacker? Well, this would be simulating getting up to the linebacker level and now block the linebacker and run. Getting up to the linebacker, block the backer, and run. That's a good drill. Block the linebacker and run. It's also good for interior linemen as they try to disengage and get to the football. You got to work the right half side of your body and the left half side of your body. Okay, drill is a half line drill. Now we're getting into the combination blocks. Okay, so if you work the outside zone play, this would be a play. This would be a drill that you'd like to do, a half line drill to the open side. Working your angles and your targets. If you're working the inside zone play, obviously your target changes. And that's what this drill is all about here. When you have a half line drill, you have 3 players, and there's really only 2 players working in combination. So the other thing I like about this drill is don't tell them what the technique is. Tell them the name of the play and make them call out the technique. because that's what's going to have to happen in the game. Not only working on their technique, they're working on their assignment or their technique calls at the line. You know, you all have line calls. Here's when you get a chance to make them. Hat placement, hand placement. Your offensive lineman should marry up, your departure angle should marry up with the running back's departure angle. So here you see a wider play, a wider zone track. That ball should be outside right now. Inside run. This is the play you do as an offensive line without backs. This is prior to an actual 9-on-7 drill. And this is just working, again, without shoulder, without pads, just working the play call, the technique calls up in front. There's a lot of communication that happens as an offensive lineman. This is the drill that you would do, putting it all, culminating a half-line drill and putting it all together while you make your calls up front. Again, a lot of times you don't have time for individual, so this is the time to work your technique as well as your assignment. You're putting it all together. You also have the ability to change the front. So you can go from an odd front to an even front to an under front. You could slant and angle the front, which is going to alter and change surface angles and targets.
We're going to talk about alignment and depth of alignment. If we're going to be a team that's going to run a lot of combination block, a lot of double teams, then to give your guys a little bit better opportunity, create a little better angle, then you want to line them off the ball a little bit, okay? General rule of thumb is when the center's down, go ahead, Aaron, get down. All right, we'll take our guard, we'll tell him, let's put your toes on his heels, all right? So get back to where your toes are on his heels, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to bring your toes back even with him, all right? So we're off the ball a little bit, all right? You're going to do the same thing over here. Go ahead and get down in your stances. Okay, so we're off the ball a little bit, not too tight. Now we can get deeper off the ball if we want to. That's kind of our general alignment right there. Okay, get up. If we want to get deeper, then you can just step your guards back. All right, another step off, everybody step off. Now we're down again. Now this is a deeper alignment, so if we're going to do a lot of scoops or a lot of double teams, but we got to create some angles, then we'll get off the ball a little deeper, and we're still legal here. All right, we're still legal here. You know, we're definitely, you know, through the belt of the center, so we got plenty of room to play with here. All right, so that's kind of the depth that we talk about. You know, we want how tight we want to be, how deep we want to be. It depends on, you know, really the scheme that you use. Next, I want to talk about splits. So right now, everybody's got a 2-foot split. As a general rule, we'll start everybody out with a 2-foot split. All right, Casey might be a little bit wider. Yeah, there you go. Now, what we'll do here is we'll tell our guard, we'll make him the adjuster, all right? What I mean by that is, if we're going to work some double teams or combination blocks, all right, and this guard is covered with a 3 technique, all right, then what he might want to do is, this tackle's going to stay where he is, he might widen a foot, all right, okay, because he and Casey are going to work together. All right, so they've cut down the distance that Casey's got to go, and they've widened this hole a little bit. All right, so he's moved over a step. Now he's about a 3-foot split from the center. All right, so he's taking that 3 technique out a little farther, and he's made it easier for the tackle because now they're tighter together. All right, so now they only got a 1-foot split. Come out a little wider. There you go. Now they got a 1-foot split. Makes it easier to set the double team up, and we've created more of a seam here in the A gap. All right. Conversely, let's say that he's going to work with the center. Let's say the guy is maybe a 1 technique, all right? And now we got the center and guards going to work together. Now he's going to tighten down because he's going to help our center out as we double team, all right? Now we got the big split here. We got a 1 technique and maybe a 6 out there on the shoulder of the tackle. Now look what we've done. We've really created a nice natural seam in the defense, and all we've done is adjusted the distance of our split with our center, or our guard. Our guard's the only man who adjusts his splits. So everybody starts at 2, and the guard, by teaching him the scheme, by letting him understand the construct of the defense, he's going to adjust his split to help create more seams in the defense and create more double teams. All right, easier and better double teams for his partner, and that's what we do with our splits. Okay, what we're going to do right now is talk about the double team. All right, this is a double team block where we're not playing off on any linebackers. We're just taking that down man 2-on-1, and we're driving him as far as we can get him. All right, a couple coaching points here. What we'll do is show you a fit up of a double team. We got Casey. Casey's the covered lineman. He's going to be the post. All right, and our drive guy is going to be the uncovered lineman. This is Howard. All right, and what we want to work for here is we got low hands. All right, we want to get the ball of the shoulder in the block, and we're going to take our outside hand, and he's going to clamp the elbow of that defensive lineman. All right, so we got power in here, power and push with the inside ball of our shoulder and inside hand, and then we're going to take this outside hand and clamp that elbow, take away any chance that lineman has to stalemate or give pressure back. So we're going to go ahead and show you how that looks right there. All right, that's a fit up on a double team. The other thing, and maybe the most important, is that we want to get hip to hip. All right, we want to get hip to hip on this double team. All right, and we're going to show you a drill that we teach that helps get the feeling for that. All right. All right, it's important for the uncovered lineman, when we're in a double team, the uncovered lineman, which is Howard here to the left, he's the uncovered lineman. He's working out on the double team with Casey. He's got to fit his hip into the hip of the drive blocker, all right? So what we're going to do now is we're just going to, on the whistle, let's drive him down the field. We're working our hips together. Let's try and keep that blue pad stuck between our hips, all right? Here we go. Good, 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 good. If they're working to keep those hips together, then you're going to have power, and that guy's not going to be able to split that double team. So low shoulders, again, making contact, our shoulders in front of our hips, we're driving, and that uncovered lineman, it's his job. It's this uncovered lineman's job to work his hip into the drive block. That's his responsibility. Good, 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 good. Good, so we got the pad in there. Casey's going to work into Brennan. Good, good, good. Okay, the next drill we're going to do is just a 2-on-1 drill where we're actually going to put our hand down, come off the ball, and block the guy. As far as our steps go here, let's take a look at our steps for Casey. His steps, he's the cover guy. Go ahead and get like your head up on Casey, all right, pretty much. You're right about here, all right? For Casey, he's going to take a quick step with his outside foot and then a quick second step. He wants to land contact on that inside foot. Howard's first step is going to be flat and long. Second step across the line, and then third step straight up, screwing his hip into Casey's hip. That's how the footwork will look. So let's take a look at it from behind and get a few reps at it. Set hut. That's good. This is a play where we're double teaming. This is probably like say this is the left guard, this is the center. We're going to double this nose man. There's a straight double team, nobody's coming off. Here we go. Sit, hut. Okay, now you saw how wide their hips were. Brennan didn't do a very good job of getting his hip into Howard's hip. So that's an example of how it should not look. All right, so let's do it again here. Give him a little bit more resistance, defense. Set, hut, hip to hip. There you go. There you go. That uncovered lineman's got to fight and work to make sure it's his responsibility to get hip to hip. Now, this covered man, he's got to be taking his good, strong steps too. He's got to be working up the field. If he's moving away, then he's not helping the situation either. So his steps have got to be firm, straight up the field. He's got to be thinking, I'm knocking this guy off the ball. All right, if I'm the covered lineman on a double team, you're always saying to yourself, I'm blocking this guy by myself. Who knows what might happen? He might forget it's a double team. He might fall out. Who knows? You know, you get in the game of football, crazy things happen. So he's got to take the responsibility. I'm going to block this guy by myself. It's not a play off. It's not a break. I'm going to drive block this guy by myself. All right? He's not expecting help. It's the uncovered man's responsibility to make sure he gets hip to hip so that block is not split up. Here we go. Sit. Hut. Good, good, good. Work in there into him. Now let's go to the other side. Sit. Hut. Good, good. Good job. Good job. And it ain't going to look pretty. It's not going to look pretty. You know what? But when you're knocking guys 5-6 yards off the ball, that is pretty. Okay, here we go. We're double teaming. This could be a situation where, you know, this is a tackle, that's the end. We're going to run trap or counter out here. We're double teaming this down man. So we're going to double team. Double teaming down to our left. Sit. Hook. There you go. Work the hips together. Work the hips together. One more time going left. Here we go. Sit. Hook. Good job. That's a good job. That's a good job. That was a good example of the uncovered lineman adjusting to the hips of the covered lineman, and we kept them squeezed together. It was a good job.
The pulling drill is a drill that we use to get our players to learn all the essentials of pulling, but we don't want them to have to hit somebody all the time. And we'll set up some dots that give us some points of aims to go to. But basically, we're telling our guy to push off his backside foot, to get depth and throw open his near arm, throw it open, so he can see his target. And then we want him to cross over, and that entails about 2 steps with the crossover. And by the 3rd step, he's coming downhill. And we want his pads to come down. We want the guy to get very vertical. That's why we put the little cones or dots in there, so he can work a vertical meaning going at the goal line with his pads down and his eyes up. We'll get the players to call numbers sometimes, and we'll have pads in there so you can go under them and stay low. But the basic thing is we want to get lots of reps. And this pulling drill puts 2 guys right opposite each other, and they're pulling, and both of them are going to the right, and they're running through an area that's very similar to the same technique they're going to use in the game. And we get tons of reps, and we don't have to do a lot of hitting, but it really allows us to do a lot of teaching. And now here's a perfect example. We got it set up, and you can see how many guys are involved, and it's pushing off the backside foot, right? You're trying to throw the near arm. You're trying to get into the chute right there, and then get your pads down. Now here it is with actual game footage. This is John Feliciano, comes right up in the alley, and well, he didn't have anybody to hit, so he kept climbing to the next level defender and just smashed that safety, which is beautiful. Here he is again, and John does a great job, and he just drops this guy. And that's another thing. You're looking for your luggage. That's what we say. Find your luggage. But we're also going to be like bludgeoning instruments, and we're going to hit anything that's in our path of 1, 2, 3 vertical, pads down, and we're trying to scrape our backside elbow for skin. And John does as good a job as anybody we've ever had at this. He gets low, he runs guys over, and he does a good job.
Pulling and kicking out on trap and counter plays. It doesn't get much better than that for an offensive lineman. I'm Coach Lenny. Welcome to Line Pro. And in today's episode, how to pull and kick out more safely and also more effectively. Trap and counter pulls are very similar blocks. They're both kick out pulls, with the trap typically being a B-gap defender, almost always the D tackle. We call it the trap because we want him to come through the line of scrimmage and believe that he's going unblocked, setting him up to be blindsided by the pulling guard. On the counter, we leave the end man on the line of scrimmage, and the guard is wanting to kick him out, leaving the gap for the running back to run inside of our block and outside of the down block or the double team. And that brings us to our Line Pro tips for success. The first key is initial depth. For any pull, the amount of depth we need is predicated by the number of gaps we're pulling across. This is for the sole purpose of not getting tripped up by any penetrators on the down blocks in the A and B gaps. Since the trap is a very short pull, you don't need much depth at all, but on the counter, we're going to want to get back just a little more so we don't get knocked off of our track. Don't overdo it, which brings us to number 2, taking an inside-out track. I see a lot of young guys pull straight down the line and just run directly to the player, only to have them cross their faces at the last second and close the hole on us. As you pull, the line of scrimmage is going to move upfield at an angle, and the last man on the line of scrimmage is going to be a little bit more upfield than where he started. Aim to hug your path as close as you can to the end player on the line of scrimmage, making it impossible for the defender to get across our face. Number 3, hit with the shoulder and bring the hips. Here's where safety comes into play. We can avoid helmet contact and lower the risk of concussions by using the shoulder. Just be sure to hit through the target and not just to it, and to run the feet on contact and lift with the hips. Remember this: pull to the right, hit with the right shoulder. When pulling to the left, hit with the left shoulder. Right, right, left, left. Here is the drill. Recreate the situation by putting bags or cones on the ground to represent the other players on the line of scrimmage. Adjust the angle of the line of scrimmage to match that tilt that you're going to get when the down blockers come downhill. Have a player or a coach hold a bag and represent the defensive tackle or the D-end getting kicked out on the end of the line of scrimmage. To get more advanced, have him change up the amount that he squeezes down on the line of scrimmage or comes upfield, forcing the player to really get inside out and squeeze back into the line of scrimmage and use the correct shoulder to kick him out. Get repetitions until you just can't get it wrong.
With this drill right here we use to determine the angle that our offensive line are taking. This is a great tool. The first thing I do, as you can tell, I face them towards the sideline and I make them put their foot on the white line. This way they can see how much width they're kicking with as you take a look right here. My big coaching point on this, on your pass set, is you always want to stay on top of the defender that you're blocking. A lot of times you hear guys talk about they want to set out at a 45 degrees. The problem with that is that now when they go to jam, they have to turn their inside part of their body out, so this way they create a two-way go to the defender when they try to jam with both hands. Take a couple look at this. Here's a good look at it right here. Only thing I want to see is their first 3 kick slides. It should almost look the same. You can tell 51 right now, he's got way too much weight back. But the whole, as this line, as you look at it, the whole right side goes on one side and the whole left side goes on the other. They should all look the same. They should have the same width. One more time on the right side, same thing. See, 51 again has way too much weight back. Okay, his front leg is leaning back and all his weight's on his back. If you look at 70 right here, it's pretty good. That kick slide, and you can see how his power step foot kind of just grazes the top of the grass. Here's a look at the left side. They all look the same. Good footwork. It's trying to stay on top of the block.
Okay, your shoe set. Always make sure the defensive player rushes towards the outside. Make him go the distance. Make him run around you. So you notice the offensive lineman here placing their outside hand to the sternum, taking the inside half of the player, defensive player. This is a slide set. And this would be a set that if you were working the zone side of a protection, where the players actually take a little bit of a flat set now, a little bit wider set. You see the hand placement now is a little wider. But understand this, there's somebody coming from the inside out to help and to take away any threat to the inside. Make sure when you're doing these type of drills that after you make contact, right here 66 has got a great balance. All the weight falls to his hips, his knees, and his ankles. It's all about balance if you're going to be an offensive lineman. So make your players move. Make them move with their hands. As they move, grab the ground. See right here, you see the heels come up in the air? You're not looking for that. Get all the weight on the inside balls of the feet and grab the ground with your entire foot. These nice small steps, nothing real big, because remember this now, defensive guys are going to be rushing into you. If you take too big of a step or stride, he'll catch you with 1 foot in the ground.